Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janie Lee Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. I hope you are. I hope you've had a good week. And what can I share with you? Goodness, it feels like feels ages since I did the last podcast. I suppose so much has happened. I've done a couple of radio shows. That was good fun. I hope you had a good Easter. Mine was just actually really quite chilled. I did my radio shows and then actually just chilled out, which is very unusual for me. Felt slightly under the weather, slightly not 100%. So actually did what I tell other people to do all the time, and just literally, chilled. And yeah, it makes a difference, doesn't it? You have to just sometimes hole up. Lots of lovely messages from people in the Sober Club who have, who kind of got over their panic and their fear of socializing over the Easter period. And then, of course, once they actually did it, it was just fine. They realized that, yes, you really can have a great time with an alcohol-free beer in your hand. Or, yes, you really can cope with a family party and you don't have to resort to alcohol. So there's been some lovely successes. It's been really great to see. And this weekend, it's our Sober Coach training. I'm so looking forward to it. Just to be surrounded by people who have made their commitment to sobriety and to being as well as they can be, and to want to share that with other people. It's super exciting. So I'm really looking forward to the weekend ahead. And if that's something you're interested in, by the way, drop me a message, because we're booking now for our next training, which is in October. So let me know if that's something that's for you. If you're early days of sobriety, and you got through that Easter period, give yourself a massive pat on the back. Really never forget to be grateful and to be proud of yourself, because it is a massive thing you're doing. It really is. We can't sugarcoat that the early weeks can feel hard. So celebrate those small wins. And by the way, celebrating doesn't have to mean with toxic liquid. There's so many ways of cheering yourself on in the Sober Club. Somebody had a friend had bought her a card, just one of those kind of cards that celebrates sobriety, you sober hero or something like that written on it. And it reminded me that when I was about 3 months sober, I kind of wanted someone to send me one of those cards. I really wanted one. So I was dropping all these hints for my husband to kind of buy me one of these, sober hero cards or whatever they say, to celebrate. I think I was 3 months or something. And, bless him, just didn't take the hint at all. I had absolutely no idea what I was going on about. And I was all kind of grumpy and fed up that that I wasn't getting this card. And I suddenly realized, it's not his thing, it's my thing, and that's okay. So I literally bought myself one. I was so pleased with it. It was great. I just bought myself a card. I mean, that's what we need, isn't it, really? The beginnings of self-love and taking care of ourselves, just kind of taking responsibility. If I wanted a card, get a bloody card, right? So it just reminded me. But of course, it's lovely if you've got a friend to do it for you, which is why we have to connect with like-minded people. That's the piece that's so important. So if you haven't checked it out already, do check out the Sober Club, because that's what we do there, is we cheerlead each other. We really do. People will pop up and they'll share a little win, however small, and they'll just be love bombed, really. People will just make them feel really special. And of course, if someone is struggling, well, that's what we're there for, is to share, well, I went through that too, or I went through something similar. And, those shared experiences, that's how we start to feel really connected. So the other thing that's been going on this week is I've just been doing a lot of writing around the holistic living stuff that I do. As some of you know, I host my Platinum Awards every year. They're in their 10th year. It's to recognise the best in natural and holistic living. And we've got categories for all kinds of things, skincare and, natural and organic skincare, and supplements and wellbeing products, home care and baby care, and obviously food and drink, and of course, alcohol-free drinks. And I'm absolutely delighted that Naughty, alcohol-free, which you've heard me talk about Naughty so much. I think you probably know it's my absolute fave sparkling alcohol-free fizz. They're coming on board as one of our sponsors. So I've been thinking a lot about the awards this week, and I'm just promoting it to practitioners and authors as well, because we've got a category for wellbeing therapists and for coaches and for authors. So my head has been in that space again. That's what I'm trying to get at. And it's just made me realize over and over that all of those years, I was working in that industry and I was kind of known as queen of holistic living, but I was stepping around this massive elephant in the room, and I thought that despite allegedly being holistic, it was perfectly okay to be downing a bottle of wine most nights. And what it has helped me realize is that since quitting alcohol, that once you quit alcohol, you finally can begin to open up to all these other different areas of holistic living. I did it the other way around, and for me, quitting alcohol was the kind of like the last piece of the jigsaw. But for many people, it's the first time they've started to realize, okay, so actually what I eat is really important. The supplements I take, what balance do I need? What's going on in my head? What's my emotional well-being like? What am I exposed to in terms of toxins, in my environment? And often it's the very first time people become aware of this stuff. And it's exciting. It's really exciting to start to dip your toes into that holistic world. I do have a course actually called Holistic Sobriety. It's just a low priced course. But if you go to thesoberclub.com, click on shop, you'll see it there if it is something that interests you, that whole holistic picture. But anyways, to cut a really long story short, I thought, I'm going to rerun a podcast that I did several years ago now, because it made a real impact on a lot of people, and there'll be lots of people who haven't heard it, of course. And if you did hear it first time around, well, I hope you won't mind having another listen, because you're in a different place and something might land differently with you. So it's another chance to hear Brain Clements, who is an absolute guru, really, in the well-being world. He is from Hippocrates Wellness. I got the chance to meet him a couple of years ago when he came to London and did a talk and spoke about his new book. The work that they do at Hippocrates is absolutely incredible. So I thought, give you another chance to have a listen. I'm absolutely delighted to be able to chat to Brain Clement. Oh my goodness, I've known about you, Brian, for so many years and wanted to chat to you. Amazing that you're willing to chat to us. I'm very excited about the book, The Self-Healing Diet. So Brian is a biochemist and world-renowned pioneer in wellness. An expert in progressive natural health treatments and co-founder of Hippocrates Wellness.org. So Brian, thank you so much for being willing to chat to us. Very exciting. Your book, I haven't had a chance to dig into it all yet, but for people who haven't heard about you, haven't come across your work, can you just give us a little bit of background as to, your story, how you got started in all of this?
Surely, I'm an American, an Irish Catholic, so I was surrounded by lots of bad food and drink when I was a kid.
Yeah, I bet.
And I remember my aunt had to go and collect the checks on Friday afternoon from my uncles as they left their workplace so that they didn't get into the pub. And so I was in a situation where I was actually a pioneer in American obesity. I became a fat boy. I became a very fat boy. And, because I was a male, they kept telling me I was big. So, of course, my fantasy mind brought that over to that made me strong.
Right.
When I was around 20, the summer of 1969, an older woman, 75-year-old woman who had reversed cancer with a healthy plant-based diet, hit me in the back of the head, literally, and said, "Wake up, boy, you're going to die." And, when you're 20, you think you have eternal life. You have no concept that there's ever an end to this thing. And it somehow resonated with me because she watched me struggle, pull myself upstairs. And that was the beginning of my voyage. She led me to be educated in this field. And now it's 53 years this year that I've worked in this. And I was very fortunate. In 1975, I joined the Hippocrates Health Institute, which was the world's pioneer in self-care, SELF care. And our founder in 1952 was told by the top doctors in the United States at Harvard she had 90 days to live. She had advanced stage 4 cancer. And she went home, got angry. She was a European from Lithuania, peasant who migrated to America, and watched her grandmom put arms and legs back on people with herbs and food. So she said, well, the hell with that. And she basically got well and opened up the doors of Hippocrates Health Institute in 1956.
Wow.
So we're now about almost 70 years old in 3 years. It will be our 70th. And we've had hundreds of thousands of people, many, 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 many Brits come through, even Anthony Hopkins, who, by the way, has been sober now for a number of years.
I know. Yeah. He often talks about it, doesn't he? Something like 47 years or something. It's unbelievable.
One of the nicest human, I'm going to tell you, he is quite a lad. That guy is one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. No pretense in him at all. And so we've watched people heal catastrophic disease. And my wife and I now combined, we have 100 years of experience in this. It's our centenarian time on this. And we said, hey, the new mission is self-healing. Why? Because, man, we're in trouble everywhere on the planet Earth. Just yesterday, we read a scientific study that came out and said 99% of people are breathing microscopic pollutants in the air that are going to cause neurological problems and cancer. We are in big trouble. If you look at your health system in this country, it's pretty much so heavy at this point, it's collapsing the economy. And by the way, it's not working well. If it were a system that worked well, we wouldn't have all these concerns that we have. And what is lacking is people don't realize that our great-grandparents, not so many years ago, understood about self-healing and self-responsibility. You didn't run to a doctor or a hospital every time you had a sniffle. And you pretty much knew what to eat. Everything was organic. You didn't have to go to a whole food market to buy organic food. Christ, my grandfather.
It was organic because it was grown in the garden, right? Or grown locally, seasonal and organic.
Yeah. If you said to my Irish Catholic grandfather, Dan Daly, I'm going to put some spray on your vegetable, he'd pop you in the nose. He would have said, what are you, nuts?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my background. I've been doing this now for a long time, and it's a lot of fun to watch what happens when people take responsibility.
Yeah, totally. And as you say, this connection between lifestyle and wellness, it's so misunderstood. It really is. And as you also talk about in the book, and I must mention Anna, by the way, of course, your co-author, as you say, Anna Marie Clement. Diet and exposure to toxicity impacts our weight, it impacts our metabolism, it impacts our lifestyle. I mean, there's so much we can get into here. Why don't we just have a little look at some of the sections in the book, and just share with us some of the really important pieces. Let's start with food choices, shall we? Because doctors won't agree with this, obviously, but you and I both know it all starts with nutrition. I mean, still to this day, it just still freaks me out that in the UK I think it's half a day's training in nutrition in 7 years. I think I'm right in saying that. Now, of course, we've got more doctors now who are on it. Of course we have, which is fantastic. But still, that basic training does not involve nutrition. How bonkers is that?
Well, it's bonkers, but, the whole world that we live in is bonkers today. So let's address the doctors. I used to be upset with them, and then I realized these are good women and men that at one point at 17, 18 years old, decided they were going to dedicate their lives to help people. There's much easier ways to make money. Let's be honest.
Yeah, true.
So, and they didn't realize, I'm sure, not that they were naive, but they were young, that the entire system is actually created by the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about health at all, is it? It's about keeping you fit.
The healthcare system has nothing to do with health, which is nuts.
Yeah.
So let's speak about diet. I mean, we talk about the pharmaceutical industry, but let's go back to the food industry. And how did we get into this dire situation? Well, again, we discussed a minute ago that your great-great-grandparents here in Britain and all over the planet Earth had gardens, organic gardens. What they didn't grow, they shared with their neighbor. The farmer down the road was there. Everything was fresh, everything was clean, and people ate well and very, very little. Remember, people weren't perpetual eaters then. They were exercisers. I mean, it wasn't an option not to exercise then. And the reality was, the farmer and the farmer's wife and would get up in the morning and look out the window and say, do we want to die or do we want to farm? And once they made the choice to farm, they did aerobic exercise, they did weightlifting exercise, and they did stretching exercise. Now, what happened is somewhere here in this wonderful country of England, they invented the Industrial Revolution. And that was when the landowners, the dukes and God knows who, basically who were making all of their money from taxing peasants who lived on their property, decided that wasn't enough for them. So they had to produce products to sell to the peasants. And so now we have these factories that are spewing waste out into the air. Oh, we just thought the ocean was a big dump site and the river, so we dumped it into there, et cetera. And now we found ourselves in trouble because all of the farmers became factory workers. And they moved into London and Manchester and all over. And the fact was, how are we going to feed these people? And they couldn't just give them fresh food, especially in the middle of winter. So they started to can food and they started to process food. And sadly, they started to chemicalize food. And in the last several decades, genetically modify food. This is not food anymore. So it's dead, it's inert, and it's deadly chemicals in there. That when they say the British Cancer Society, we need more money to learn why we get cancer, that's bonkers. I know exactly why people get cancer. I know exactly why people have heart attacks and strokes. 25% of who dies in this country has heart attacks and strokes. You have 370,000, 75,000 people a year contracting cancer in Britain. And by the way, 167,000 dying every year because of these bonker things that we do. And the fact of the matter is, why we don't educate physicians about this is because there's no money in telling people to take responsibility and self-heal. If you self-heal, you don't need to spend money on junk food. And by the way, the result of junk food is disease at that point. So this is clear to me and any sensible person who bothers to look at history. The problem is we all become specialists in a certain area. Even naturopathic doctors have a limited understanding. You've got to look at natural history. You've got to look at chemistry, biochemistry. You've got to look at quantum physics and physics. And if you're willing to do that, then you have the ability to stand up and say, I want to help people. If not, if you have half the answer, you're as dangerous as you could possibly be.
Totally. So how do we, where do we start then with someone who perhaps recognizes, is hearing this, perhaps, waking up, as it were, but, it's not been good for the last however many years. Maybe they're, often people only start to look at this stuff when there's something already tipping up, when they realize they're massively overweight, or they realize, they're getting unhealthy, or they've had some kind of diagnosis, or perhaps someone in their family has had a diagnosis. And that's like the wake up call, right? But where do we start then? Let's take people who are battling with weight. In the work that I do, with people who are ditching the booze, so often they recognize something has to change, and very often the kind of next thought is, and I'll do that because I want to lose weight. Now I know we're slightly changing topics here, but I always say, don't even think about losing weight. Think about focusing on really good nourishment while you're ditching the booze.
I'll give you a story. When I was a kid, we joked earlier about it, but all of my uncles were outright alcoholics. There was no joke in that. So the Irish stereotype actually does apply. And why? Because downtrodden people try to escape. And you don't have to be Irish and downtrodden. You could be, a GP here. and have the same problem, or the prime minister of the country. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Here's what I've understood. When I was a kid, I played in bands, and what you have to know is that I had one guy that played in there, a guitar player, and in our generation in the 60s, it wasn't popular to drink. We smoked grass.
Yeah.
He was a closet alcoholic, and one day he didn't show up to practice, and we called. His mother was screaming that they found him dead. It was an alcohol overdose, and he drank vodka, so we didn't smell it. And I frankly today, 60 years later, feel guilty about this, because we couldn't have that dialogue. So when I moved to Boston, where the birthplace of Hippocrates, the founder of the self-care movement and also lifestyle medicine, I volunteered to speak at AA meetings. And it was in Cambridge, where Harvard is. And Cambridge is an interesting community. It's half blue-collar workers and half, intellectuals. And I would go there, and they would acutely listen to me and understand nutrition balances blood sugar, so you don't want as much alcohol, you don't want alcohol, and et cetera, et cetera. And then I'd watch it break. They'd put coffee with their sugar. And a former professor walked over to me and said, "Brian, we do that so we don't go back to it."
Yeah.
Well, there's something you can do, nutrition. And I write about this in the book. Your body is starving if you're not nourished. Most of these so-called diet programs out there lack essential micronutrients.
Yeah.
And we actually think that our brains are so intelligent that we have complete control. Your brain is controlled by hormonal messaging. And if, by the way, your intestinal tract doesn't say, I have the nutrient, a calcium, a magnesium, a protein, a vitamin, it actually gives a message to a part of the brain, a hormone, that says you're hungry. So you can't stop eating or drinking at that point. The other problem is they realized along the way, the food industry, the corrupt food industry, that if you put sugar into food, people become addicted to the product.
Yeah.
One step more, I speak about this in the book, the former head of our Food and Drug Administration, Dr. David Kessler, shocked me. I'm hardly ever shocked. I was walking onto a stage at a major medical conference. He said, "Brian, every major food industry internationally puts synthetic opiates in the food beyond the sugar. So they set you up to your children, your loved ones, your friends, the entire society to get addicted to fast food and chips, and the list goes on, cookies." And so a lot of you that felt weak out there, I'm not strong enough to give up the drink. I'm not strong enough to give up the thing. There's a scheme out there.
Yeah.
And the fact is, it's to get you to buy that product. And government doesn't intervene because the tax dollars are lucrative from this. And nobody talks about it. And medicine doesn't even address it. So that's why I'm here on a mission, worldwide mission, to give people their lives back and to say, look it, if you understand what's happening to you, you have a fighting chance to live a normal, happy, healthy, long life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough though, isn't it? Because even when we try and eat well, in inverted commas, the amount of absolute nonsense stuff that's snuck in, even to what we would think are relatively innocuous foods. I mean, one of the other things I spend my life doing is I'm helping people, I'm supporting people to stop drinking, but in the same breath, I'm having to say, and for God's sake, don't have artificial sweeteners, right? Yeah. Because the devil's own work. Right?
It is. I mean, look, aspartame is outrageous. Aspartame causes cancer, neurological problems, Alzheimer's disease. These aren't opinions I have. These are scientific data. I don't ever have opinions that aren't backed by science. Just today, as an example, the Paris Agreement, this is what they said, will fail with methane emissions from dairy and meat consumptions. Your Telegram, I was over here years ago, on the front page said, if the Brits don't give up meat and dairy, we cannot survive into the future. Poland, of all places, my God, Poland, the land of kielbasa, told you the same thing. So we're now knowing that not only do you pollute your body when you eat animal-based foods, you destroy the planet Earth that we're on. And by the way, it bioaccumulates. So when I'm eating chicken, when I'm eating fish, when I'm eating any of these things, steak, that poor animal is eating kilo after kilo after kilo of polluted, God knows what, feed they're giving them that often are ground up animals. This is where mad cow disease came from, right here in Britain. And at the same point, the methane gas is going into the atmosphere, which is much, much, much worse than even the automobile fumes that are coming out. So you're dying, the chemicals are in there, you're eating it, your body is actually struggling to be nourished. So you're perpetually eating like I used to. That's why I weighed 120 pounds more. And the fact is, none of this is working. And you're right. They're putting synthetic this in. The joke is my mother used to be sitting, God bless her soul, with a big piece of cake with a Diet Coke next to it. And I would say, Mom, why are you doing that? Because addiction is addiction, and food addiction's the most pervasive addiction. Not everyone takes drugs, but everyone eats crap.
Very true. Very true. So where does someone start then? Obviously you would advocate a plant-based diet, whole foods. Give us some suggestions, give us some pointers.
There's two kinds of people listening here. There's people who are facing imminent disease problems, and they have to rapidly jump on the horse, even though it's kicking around, and learn how to ride it. The rest of us can have a sensible plan over a year or so. And when I started, I realized my personality was all or nothing. So I had to give up all of this rapidly. So when I gave up cigarettes, I gave up 3 packs a day. When I gave up all animal food in the summer of 1969, it was all animal food. And was it easy? No. I would smell somebody cooking bacon in a house. I wanted to break in and get it. But after about a year, 12 months of it, it no longer looked like food. My body normalized biochemically. I started to recognize what real nutrition was. And Handel's Hallelujah was playing in my cells because they said, my God, he's feeding us.
Yeah.
He's feeding us here. And when you do that, where you have substance in your bloodstream, you don't go after the sugars. You don't go after the alcohol. You don't go after the cake. You don't go after the cookies. It's a slow but sure process. And remember, these are the causes of disease today. These are the causes of aging. Look at all of the aging research going on globally. Every one of them say plant-based diet. Every one of them say exercise. Every one of them say community. Community is important. But as important as all of that is, you've got to understand that nobody can do this for you. And when you go to a doctor, don't expect the doctor to know about nutrition. When you come to me, don't expect me to know about brain surgery. But I don't talk about brain surgery. And the fact of the matter is, learn this on your own. And this is my 31st book.
Is it? Wow. Amazing.
Wow,
we got some catching up to do then if people are new to you. Fantastic.
And I'm currently writing 3 more books. One of them, by the way, is How to Live to 120 with another doctor.
Nice.
By the way, his wife healed stage 4 melanoma with us 19 years ago.
Wow.
And when we say that, that's not pie in the sky anymore, that the young people listening to us today, very, very clearly, they'll have an opportunity to live to 120, 130, 140. The key research scientists are telling us that in the next 10 years, it will be 140. And in the young generation, in their teens now, it will be 200.
Wow.
Now, what the hell are you going to do with a miserable life living 200 years?
Yeah.
You got to straighten out now.
Very true. Very true. I know you also, and I'm really pleased that you cover this in your book, the whole environment and lifestyle choices, because again, in my first book that was, goodness, 16 years ago, I was kind of a bit ahead of my time writing about the issues with electromagnetic frequencies. And, and I mean, look where we are now. Nobody can put their phone down for a second. And it's difficult, isn't it? That there is so much of this lifestyle stuff that when we try to address it, it is a sticking plaster on an ocean. We have to be honest about that. But in your opinion, what are some of the, even if small things we can do to somehow bring back balance?
Well, one of the things that I like is there are certain restaurants, health restaurants more so, that do not allow cell phones into the restaurant. You put it in the basket, when you come
Really?
in. So people
Is that in the
actually have,
US? I don't know if we've got any in the UK.
no, I've seen it in Europe too. I've seen it
Right.
in Germany. I've seen it in Sweden.
What an
Uh,
interesting idea.
Yeah, so I mean, the UK can do it. So the fact is it gives people a disconnect. So you're sitting there, you're talking to your family, you're talking to your friends, you're talking to your date that night, or your husband or wife. Christ, you don't even talk to these people. You're married to them.
Yeah.
The other thing is with children. I know the parents are completely addicted. The statistic is amazing. 67% of the people who own cell phones are perpetually connected to it in an addictive way. Now,
Yeah.
that's a fact, by the way. That's a fact. 67% are perpetually addicted to it. They can't put it down. They're checking constantly. What does
Yeah.
that do to your life? Number two, when you use a cell phone, that electromagnetic frequency that you spoke about 16 years ago as a pioneer in your book is actually disturbing the brain and even leading to cancers. Not because we think so, we know so. The number one killer today of our infants is brain cancer. If you had
Wow.
told me 40, 50 years ago that baby had brain cancer, I would have thought it was a sick joke or you were wrong. The number one killer of our infants today. Why? Because mom puts a laptop computer on top of her belly. Mom is working at a desk 8-9 hours a day with a computer. Mom has a cell phone on. And anyone below 40, 50 years old, they can't live without a cell phone. I watch my 4 children and 8 grandchildren. And the truth is, it's unbelievable. It is almost, you talk about drugs. I've never seen a drug more encompassing than this drug. And there's no reason we can't use cell phones, but we've got to put them in place. When you come home with your partner, please leave the cell phone there. Nobody's going to die if you don't talk.
And turn the Wi-Fi off at night. That's a big one for me.
Oh my God, yes. People don't recognize what this does to the nervous system, what it does to the brain, what it does to hormones. In this book, we speak about a study that was done on cell phones and obesity.
Yeah.
That there's 2 reasons. If you're perpetually engaged, you're not thinking about what you're eating, you don't even take time to eat, and it's a different sporadic, that's bad for you. But more importantly, this hits that part of the brain we spoke about earlier and shuts off, I'm full. And it says, I'm hungry. So 30% higher incidence of obesity with cell phone perpetual users.
Wow. Wow. I know, and there's so much we could talk about, Brian. I know you in your book, you cover, biorhythms, sleep patterns, you even go into, damaging chemicals in clothing. I mean, I just love this. I can't wait to get into it all. It's all the stuff I've been talking about for so many years. I just love everything you've done. Let's just literally before we finish, let's just touch on, the really something that's hugely important. Obviously, even if we do all this stuff and we eat really well, we need our mind needs to be in the right kind of space. And I love the fact that Dr. Zach Bush endorses your work, and I did a TEDx talk recently, and I quoted Zach Bush when he said curiosity is the most powerful force on the planet. I absolutely love his work, but just give us your take, sort of in a nutshell, the importance of getting our mind in order as well.
One of the biggest struggles I had is the year 1980 when they made my wife and I, Anna Maria, the directors of Hippocrates. Because we were completely convinced if you changed the diet, people would recover. And, we're PhD nutritionists, we're naturopathic doctors. I mean, the list goes on. And don't you know, I would watch people eat exactly like I told them to and exercise, and they'd still be sick and die. And I said, damn it, these people who talk about psychology must be right.
Wow.
So resistingly, I hired our first psychotherapist, and the universe gave me the right message because she was brilliant. And I watched people go into the room and walk out completely new and transformed in an hour. So we've had psychotherapists on our team, medical team, ever since 1981. And if you don't change your mind, you don't change your life. You don't change your direction.
Yeah.
So I know that you have a wide audience of different listeners, but remember what I said today. The biggest addiction, pervasive addiction, is food addiction.
Yeah.
But it's no different than alcohol addiction, drug addiction, sex addiction, whatever it may be. It's when you're running away from something and not joyous and happy in yourself. And to become joyous and happy in yourself, remember there's two facts that most people don't acknowledge or don't even know. That between conception and 6 years old, you and I developed 85% of our personality.
Yeah.
Now, let me repeat this so you don't miss it. Between when you were a sperm and an egg, boom, now you're a little you, spark until you're 6, 85% of the rest of our life's personalities develop. So look back and ask, were your mother and father loving? Did they express love? Were you poor? Did you suffer? Was there lack? Did people tell you that there was lack in your life? How about if did you go through, not in this generation here in Britain, but other people listening, did you go through war?
Yeah, or famine. Yeah.
Famine. How about how many of you were sexually abused? We know 25% of young girls are generally sexually abused by a family member. And that's in every socioeconomic group, by the way. How about if you have a value problem because your father was a drunk and he was beating you and beating the mother? And the woman says, how come I've had 3 bad marriages? Because that's what you learned when you were 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 years old. So you've got to do psychological work. And if you're not willing and ready to do psychological work, you're not serious about being a happy, healthy human being. And I mean, there's a lot of quacks out there. Let's be honest with you. So you've got to search out and find a legitimate, thoughtful, kind, empathetic psychotherapist, because with that person, you can transform, you will transform. And by the way, you can heal, you can self-heal, but we need help. The universe didn't put one person here on the earth. Why there's men and women and friends and partners is because we need to love and support one another. And that's the mission that my wife and I are on. We are not going to let the world go down as it appears to be now. We're going to let the world come up. The world has to go down, the one that's broken and destroyed and disgusting and disease causing. But let me tell you, we'll emerge. We're going to come back. And we want all of you to join in by becoming whole, happy individuals that take charge and responsibility.
I love it. I love your optimism. I love it. And you're absolutely right. It's completely speaking my language, and you express that really, really well. Something that we talk about a lot in my work is the ACE study, where we look at the childhood trauma and its impact on addictions and as you know, as you say, on your personality. I also work with family constellations, so it's, I see it all the time. It's so very true. But you're right. You know, you can heal. That's the piece that's wonderful, because when you start to learn this stuff for the very first time, you think, oh, well, that's it then. I had a terrible childhood. The game's up. But, you know, we don't have to stay stuck, right? That's what's so amazing.
You know, when there's certain people, all of you would know. I know the American Oprah Winfrey. I mean, if you listen to her lifestyle, she should have been a street drunk. You know, but the fact is she became one of the most famous humans in the world, wealthiest woman in America for many years, and a very pro-human person. And a Black woman in a society that's racist has an uphill battle. So don't you sit back and whine about what happened to you. Change what happened to you. You know, this second part of your life, or, you know, you may be young, maybe it's the middle of your life, can be transformative. And the way that people, you know this because you're a great human being, I can see what you're doing there. But if people only realized why we're here on the earth is to give, but if you don't have enough for yourself, you can't give. So develop you, become whole, become the cup runneth over. I think that was a Shakespeare thing, wasn't it?
Love it. Love it. I could talk to you all day, Brian. Well, I'm going to have to get you back. I'm going to ask you when you bring the next book out. Yeah. How about that?
Well, you're doing it all the time. Left and right, you know, it's perpetual popping.
Perfect. So the book is The Self-Healing Diet, and we can find more about your work at hippocrateswellness.org. Brain Clements, thank you so much for being such an amazing guest. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Keep up your great work. Send love to everyone.
So as we mentioned in that interview, a huge part of wellness is around that emotional well-being, the psychology piece. And, you know, Brian was talking there about psychologists, but in my opinion, one of the best ways of really being able to release baggage and let go of old stuff is to experience family constellations. It's so unbelievably powerful. It's so quick and effective. And I'd really urge you to consider it. So we do have a workshop coming up Saturday, 10th of May in Hertfordshire. So if that's something that you're interested in, please have a look. Go to thesoberclub.com/events. It would be amazing to see you there. It can be literally a game changer to come and do constellations. If that's not possible for you, drop me a message, because the other work that I do it's called matrix reimprinting, and that's can be done one-to-one. It's like a form of coaching, therapeutic coaching, and that's also incredibly powerful if you know you've got stuff going on that you want to address. If you've got some blocks, something holding you back. I mean, most of us do, right? So the great thing about quitting alcohol is that we get to that point where we can go, okay, I'm maybe I'm a little scared, but I'm ready to face whatever it is now. I'm ready to face it, because ultimately, if we don't face these things, they just come back to bite us on the bum. So really, the great thing about sobriety is it can help us step into who we really are and help us be so much more resilient to whatever we have to face. So if you can come along to Constellations, I think you'll love it. Please try. 10th of May, thesoberclub.com/events. I'm also putting in place another free webinar on what it means to be a sober coach and to live a purposeful life. So that will be up for registration very soon. Have yourself a fantastic weekend, and you know where to find me at Janie Lee Grace. I'm everywhere on social media. I'm easy to find. Check out thesoberclub.com. If you've thought about joining us as a member, please do. It's very low cost. It's very high value. You really do get a lot for your few quid. It'd be great to have you involved. But whatever happens, if you're doing this, if you're quitting alcohol, don't go it completely alone. If nothing else, drop a message to someone who's been there, done it, got the t-shirt. You can drop me a message. I will hold the vision for you. If I get the message, I will reply if I can. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.